Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 3S series of Institute for Science and Spirituality. This is the first session of 3S. 3S means Science, Spirituality, and Sustainability series, which the Institute is offering online for the inquisitive and open minded people who want to understand the answers to the deeper questions of life, both from the perspective of science and spirituality. This session has become more relevant in today's time when the whole humanity is facing unprecedented danger for its existence, and we are forced to pause, rethink, and question the priorities of fast paced life which we have become accustomed to. For most of us, the definition of happiness must have changed over the last few months since the outbreak of the pandemic. In today's session, let us deliberate and understand the science of happiness. I hope this session will add a different perspective and help you cope up with any situation with a peaceful mind. The content of the session is we'll discuss about what is happiness, what makes us happy, and what doesn't make us happy. Happiness stats we'll discuss. What are the roadblocks to happiness, and happiness sutras from Bhagavad Gita. So let me ask you to close your eyes for a moment and think about what happiness means to you. For most of us, the meaning of happiness revolves around these few words: healthy life, secure job, profitable business, happy married life, big house, or peace of mind. However, we'll see this constitute only 10% of the happiness as per the happiness theory in positive psychology. Okay, so the happiness, this pursuit for happiness is a universal goal. Everyone wants to be happy. No one in this world, if you ask anybody that, if nobody will say that I don't want to be happy. The Dalai Lama says that the purpose of our life is to be happy. If we want to define the happiness, the standard definition as per the dictionary definition of the happiness is it's a state of it's a state it's a state of well-being and contentment, pleasurable and satisfying experience. And the definition as per positive psychology, it's an experience of joy and contentment, a positive well-being combined with a sense of that one's life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. Right? So happiness, basically, the basic, if we all of us know that if our desires are fulfilled, then we become happy. So generally we think that happiness comes from fulfillment of desires, right? So every individual has their own definition of what makes them happy. Farmer will be happy if there are timely rains, and the potter will be unhappy if rain is there. So it's a relative definition, right? The cause of one's happiness may not be the cause of happiness for others. So let us delve a little bit deeper into the happiness aspect as per the positive psychology. So in How of Happiness book written by Professor L. Sonja, she explains that this happiness formula consists of three parts. One part is the genetic predisposition, means this 50% part comes from the genetic disposition, and next 10% part comes from the outside factors, which we have described in the last slide, like money, like status, jobs, beautiful houses, car, other external things which we chase in the pursuit of happiness, right? And the another 40%, it's a major chunk, which comes from our thoughts and actions. So basically, from this definition of happiness, which is based on the empirical study by the professor, that 40% of this we can control, because this is in our hand, because this is dependent upon the thoughts and actions, right? So the happiness formula, but with respect to this, contrary to this definition by the in the positive psychology, the happiness formula which we have been taught in school is little different, right? What is that? So our formula is work hard to become successful. We have to work hard to become successful, to gain happiness. That means basically the follow what is this? To work hard to become successful, to gain happiness. Basically we are being taught to follow the materialism, and which ultimately leads to consumerism, right? So, and you'll be surprised to know that this C is basically this part, the money, status, jobs, and car, beautiful houses. We have been taught, our parents tell us, oh, beta, if you don't study, you will not become a, big person. You will not have big house. You will not have big car. All external things. But if you see the research shows that this constitutes only 10%. So basically, if you see that whatever we have been taught right now by the society, by the educational, our institutions, that the main focus is on this part only, the 10% part. Rest we are forgetting. Yeah, the 40%, which is the major part, basically, which is dependent upon our actions, which is dependent upon our thoughts. So that is not being taken care of. Okay, so okay. Of materialism, what materialism means. Materialism is basically it's a dominating sense of desire to pursue wealth and other tangible things that can provide physical comforts. This is first thing. And second important thing is that materialism, it completely ignores the importance of spiritual and religious values. Right? So we have been indoctrinated with this false ideology. This is very, very important. It's a false ideology. It has been proved wrong, right? And that this materialism can make us happy, right? See this, it's a funny cartoon picture, but it conveys the message, it conveys a very beautiful message, very succinctly, but very, very beautiful message. And that materialism is false, right? Happiness is just around the corner. We have been taught since beginning of our life, our parents has taught us, our teachers have taught us, our society has taught us, कि if we work hard to get physical comforts, we will be happy. Just don't worry, you study a lot, don't worry, one day you will become a big man, and you will have a big car, you will have a big house, and you will be happy. So we have been taught, earn more money, you will be happy, happiness is just around the corner. Buy more things, you know buy more things, you'll be happy. Now in India, we have seen this trend in last few years, that so many malls are opening up, big super bazaars are opening up. And and we have been bombarded with so many advertisements every moment. As soon as we see the television, as soon as we open the newspaper, as soon as we step out of our house, every corner, on the street, on the roads, we are being bombarded with a lot of advertisements. To buy this thing, you'll be happy. To buy that thing, you'll be happy. You know, and every one of us, our friend circles, our society, they are teaching us, keep going, don't worry, you'll be happy if you get all physical comforts, right? And that can give you real happiness. So the famous professor, Professor Sonja Lyubomirsky, she's a leading happiness researcher, and she has written a very famous book, How of Happiness. And there she explains that these materialistic tendencies are detrimental to your happiness and your social relationships, right? She writes in the book that why are materialistic tendencies important to identify? Because a mountain of research, so many research has been done on these things, that which has shown that materialism depletes happiness. It threatens satisfaction with our relationship. It harms the environment, the sustainability. It harms sustainability. It renders us less friendly, less likable, and less empathic, and makes us less likely to help others and contribute to our community. Okay, so let us see a few of the happiness stats around the world, how people are faring with respect to this happiness index. World Health Organization estimates that depression will be the number one health concern in both the developed and the developing nations by 2030. Only 33% of the Americans surveyed said they were happy according to the 2017 Harris Poll survey of American happiness. Suicide is second leading cause of death for age between 10 to 34 in US. On an average, 132 Americans commit suicide each day. 1.4 million Americans attempted suicide last year, and 90% of those who died by suicide had a diagnosable mental health condition at the time of death. Few more stats. Uh, this stat has come from the psychologist Ed Diner and Robert Biswas. Diner. So they say that it seems natural to assume that rich people will be happier than others. Yes, that's what the materialism tell us, that if you get more and more money and you become rich, you'll be happy. But what uh, we also have a stat that suicide by famous people in the last year, not last year, from 2000 to 2019, in total number of celebrities who's committed suicide is basically 250 all over the world, and these are celebrity, very famous people. These includes fashion models, comedians, even the comedians, right? Even the psychiatrists who have committed suicide, sports person, businessman, philanthropist, and even the chaplains, they have committed suicide. So there is a paradox that is known as Easterlin paradox, which says that there is a threshold beyond which increase in income produce no consummate increase in subjective well-being, right? Once basic needs are met, once you have reached, their happiness increases. As soon as it reaches a saturation point, then happiness is not increasing even if your wealth is increasing. So once the basic needs, that food, clothing and shelter, are met, we simply reach a saturation point. So this theory was given by the economist Richard Easterlin from the University of Southern California. Okay, so from the stats which we have seen, so it turns out that a private plane would not make me happier. A high IQ, good weather, is the joy of major or minor life events, high paying jobs, etc. also cannot make me happier. It also turns out that people who have religious or spiritual beliefs are happier than those who don't. No matter what their belief, they can be from any background, religious background, but if they are truly religious, they are better than the people who have high paying jobs, who have high IQ, who are all physical comforts of life. But the people who have these religious, truly religious or spiritual beliefs, they are more happier than the others. So religious beliefs give people a sense of meaning. So this study was done by Catherine Sanderson, a psychology professor at Amherst College in Positive Psychology, and this was reported in Science of Happiness in Washington Post. Similarly, another study done uh, by Alexander Austin, and the study was conducted on 3,680 third-year college students. So, what is the study? Being religious or spiritual certainly seems to contribute to one's sense of psychological well-being. Okay. Similarly, the another study done by Professor Yakir Kaufman, and he what he says, that spirituality and religiosity have been linked to better health outcomes, right? Better health outcomes. Okay, and also another startling fact is that Bhutan, although the poorest country in the world, and Bhutan is the only country where the in the world that has gross national happiness. We have GDP, they have GNH. It measures people's quality of life and makes sure that material and spiritual development happen together. Bhutan has done an amazing job of finding this balance. So there was another famous study done on nuns, which is known as Nun Study. In 2001, researchers from the University of Kentucky published their findings, which analyzed 180 handwritten autobiographies of nuns in 1930s with an average age of 22. The researchers would come to find a very strong association between positive emotional content in autobiographies written in early adulthood and longevity 6 decades later. And they noticed a clear distinction between nuns whose writings were positively charged and those whose essays were more reserved. Among their findings, the researchers discovered that the happiest nuns lived 10 years longer than the least happy nuns. So there is a direct correlation between that, like we have seen in the previous slide, that spirituality and religiosity has a direct, correlation, positive correlation with the, the happiness in life, peacefulness in life, longevity, right? So all these studies point to a very, deeper questions about what a human being is basically. What is the difference, when we talk about humans and when we compare them with animals, what specialty humans have as compared with animals? So what is this difference? Why, uh, if with all the material comforts, humans, after a threshold is reached, that cannot make them happy. Rather, it will make them miserable, right? Like a small example, like if a fish always remains happy in water. If you give anything to the fish other than water, for example, if you make a very palatable dishes for the fish, she will not be happy if she is out of the water. Similarly, there is a very deeper reality when it comes to humans. So let us understand what is that, and if we understand that, then we will resolve this dilemma of how the humans can really become happy. Okay, so let's difference between materialism and spiritualism. The outcomes, the difference in the outcomes of when somebody follows this false ideology of materialism, and if somebody is deeply spiritual and religious. So what is why the difference in outcome is there when somebody follows materialism? So all kinds of negative thoughts, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, these happens. But when somebody really, if somebody is really spiritual or religious at heart, why they becomes happy, peaceful, you know so there must be some deeper reality with respect to these two things when it comes to humans. So let us understand this difference. So let's go back to the basic. Let us understand how humans are different from animals. So basically, to understand the difference, let us first understand the commonality between humans and animals. And the four basic functions which humans also do and animals also do. One is eating. We also eat a lot or maybe less, and animals also eat. So there is no difference where we can eat in five-star hotels, or animals can eat on the road, but the eating process is same. Similarly, when it comes to sleeping part, we may sleep in a five-star hotel, they may sleep on the road. So but the sleeping, the function itself is same, you know and similarly, the third part, the mating, uh, that this function is also same, to procreate new generations. And similarly, defending, we may have very high class weapons, and they may have their nails and long sharp teeth, but that the function is same, defending. So if these four basic functions, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, are same, then what is the difference? So generally, when we ask these questions, so you know we tend to think that okay, probably we are more intelligent than animals, probably we are more rational than animals. But all these things, if you see animal behavior now, every one of us seen, so many times we see in Discovery or National Geographic channels and other, animals are so intelligent, they have all kinds of uh, they show such an intelligent behavior to get, for example, their food or to save themselves from the prey. So all kinds of intelligent, rational behavior they show. So basically, we cannot, say in 100% of this confidence or that they are, we are more intelligent than animals, or yeah, we are more rational than animals. Animals are limited by their, by their body structure, or they are restricted by their, spatial body structure. That's why they cannot perform the what humans can do. But there is one basic difference which differentiates, which specializes basically, which gives a special status to humans than animals. So what is that? So that thing is, let us understand from the scriptural, chords, and what scripture says about that. So it's in this simple equation, humans is equal to animal, yes, but plus one more thing is there, which animals doesn't have, that is dharma, right? This dharma is not, basically you cannot, the English equivalent is religion, but that religion is not, directly, gives full definition of this dharma. So humans is equal to animal, yes, this animalistic tendencies, and which makes them human is basically this dharmic tendency of the humans, which makes humans as humans. So Mahabharata says, "Dharmena hina pashubi samana." If somebody is some human is not having, not following their dharma, then they are just like animals. That's what it's a very strong statement by Mahabharata, and that differentiates human from animals. And similarly, there are, in the same scripture, it is also mentioned that. So if somebody is dharmic, so they ask humans specially. So they inquire. They have this special quality that humans have this tendency to inquire. And they can inquire, who am I? Animals cannot do this. And they also inquire, why I am suffering. When these two things, this is, uh, and also, what is my actual destination after I die? So animals cannot ask these kind of questions. So this is the basic difference, which differentiates humans from animals. And this higher level of consciousness, which can ask these questions: who am I? Why I am suffering? What is my actual destination after I die? So these are the questions which actually comes from the higher level of consciousness which humans have, which animals can't have, right? So if we see the similar in a more, scientific term, we can write that dharma teaches us what is our real identity. So what is that? So a living entity is basically the genome, which is our physical and material body, right? And then our mind, right? Intelligence and false ego. This is known as subtle body, which is known as Shukshma Sharir in Sanskrit, and plus spirit on, or you can say soul or spirit or life particle. So when we see, if you see in the picture below, this is the gross body, right, which we see with our eyes. And then there is, in Sanskrit, this gross body is known as, which is made up of earth, water, air, fire, and ether. And this is, sthur sharir. And then there is another body which is known as subtle body, which is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then there is the real, uh, proprietor of this gross body and subtle body, which is known as soul, right? So Bhagavad Gita basically teaches us that, in third chapter, 42, 42nd shlokas, Indriyani Prayani Indriyani Parani Ahur Indrebhya Paramana Manasastu Parabuddhyor Buddhe Prasastu Sa. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Yes, and mind is higher than senses, intelligence is higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Right? So it very clearly explains the hierarchy of this gross body, subtle body, and finally the soul. Concept of soul, let us understand through consciousness. So consciousness basically in Hindi or Sanskrit it is known as Chetana. Consciousness is the symptom of soul. You see these two pictures side by side. In the picture which is shown, this person is enjoying the sunrise, right? And similarly, we have designed this machine, and this machine is designed in such a way that as soon as the sun rises, right, and the machine's sensor senses the sunlight, right, and that then it prints that I see the red light, right? So my question is, if what is the difference between the experience of this man who is enjoying the sunrise in the early morning and the machine which prints that I see the red light? I see the red light as soon as the sun rises. So what is the difference between the experiences of both? This the man who experiences the sunrise or the machine which prints this I see the red light. Of course, the machine is designed in such a way that it although it prints, but it doesn't feel anything of this which this particular this person is enjoying. So why this difference is there? What is that difference? So for example, so the difference is because seeing the sunrise, uh, similar experiences we are having in our brain, that measurable chemical activity in the body and the brain that is happening. Yes, that's modern science has detected that. Okay, but what modern science has not detected is that behind this activity there is a conscious observer, that is soul also, which actually because of that presence of that conscious observer we have this conscious awareness, right? For example, if this person dies, although the brain is there and all the gross body is there, eyes are also there, but he will not feel any awareness of, he will not have that pleasurable experience because the soul has left the body. So whatever the conscious awareness we have, that awareness is because of this soul, and that's why science, particularly in this situation, they cannot explain this the beautiful pleasurable experience this person is having while seeing the sunrise. So no explanation, rather denies it, says it is an illusion. So that is the limitation of science. Similarly, another example. Uh, so let consciousness from another two examples. So basically, in the last slide, we have understood that as soon as the soul is there, consciousness is there. So as soon as the soul leaves the body, we are not conscious, and all conscious experiences are gone. See this the example of the car given. Car moves but does not experience the motion. Who experiences the motion? Driver experiences the motion. Okay. The conscious observer experiences the motion. Similarly, tape recorder receives the sound impulses but does not hear. Who hear the sound? We as humans, the conscious observers, conscious hearer, we hear the sound, right? So in both of these examples, what is the missing link? Missing link is basically this conscious awareness or consciousness. And consciousness is the symptom of soul, as sunlight is the symptom that sun has arisen in the eastern horizon, right? So this has so we have come to a very important point which need to be noted, that it is a very serious limitation of the mechanistic approach of science, that it does not recognizes the existence of uh, you know the source of consciousness. It can only describe the behavior connected with consciousness, but not consciousness itself, right? So Max Planck, the famous scientist, he said that I regard consciousness as as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness, right? So, and it is said that Max Planck and other famous scientists of his time, they got this idea of consciousness, and from the Upanishadic literature of India. Okay, so let us understand this the same concept through this beautiful and simple example of the cage polishing you know philosophy of modern age. So this old lady is polishing the golden cage very nicely every day and evening, but she's not feeding to the poor parrot who is dying because of hunger and thirst. So the similar situation is what is with us also. You know, uh, because of the complete misidentification with the body, uh, lead to materialism. So what is the use of carefully polishing the case if one ignores the needs of the parrot inside? Similarly, people are making all arrangements for bodily comforts, but spiritually everyone is suffering, hence everyone, and because of ignoring the spiritual needs, everyone is suffering, and they don't know, you know they don't know, science does not know this. Now they, because of the various researchers, the studies done, the empirical studies done on in the positive psychology, now people are realizing still psychology as a field, they does not recognize the existence of soul. This is very surprising. Okay, so to become happy, now we know that that materialism is not something which can make us happy. So if we want to be happy, so what are the roadblocks to happiness? Let us summarize. Okay, so what comes between me and happiness? The only thing standing between me and the total happiness is, of course, the problems. So what are the real problems? This is another very important concept to understand, and that will give us very broad perspective, how to deal with the issues, real issues. So let so what are the roadblocks to happiness? Now we understand that every one of us want to be happy, you know. So what are the roadblocks to happiness? So roadblocks to happiness are the real problems, and if some problem is real, so the definition of real problem is that it should be common to all, right? And that problem nobody wants it, and nobody can avoid it. So can you think about any such problem which is common to all? Every human being, every living entity has to face that, and nobody wants it. Everyone wants to avoid it, and nobody can avoid it. So what are these problems? So these are known as real problems. Okay, let's understand that. So real problems of life and relative problems of life. Let us understand first relative problems of life. you know Sometimes very heavy rains are there, sometimes rains are not there, सूखा पड़ गया हर जगह. And sometimes somebody say, oh, my electricity bill has come, in summers, and now electricity bill has gone up. Sometimes uh, kids are not studying properly, so many issues. So unlimited problems in life. So these are known as Relative problems. Why relative problems? Because rains can be a problem for someone, but the same rains can be a boon for the farmer. Similarly, take any issue, that particular problem may be a problem for one kind of section of human society, and the same problem may be a boon for the another person, right? So these are known as relative problems. So now we are interested in real problems of life, which have these three characteristics, which are common to all, nobody wants it, and nobody can avoid it. Okay. So what are these real problems of life? Let us understand. So according to the scriptures, especially Bhagavad Gita, it says that the real problem of life is death. Everyone is common to all, nobody wants it, nobody can avoid it. Real problem is old age. People don't want to become old. To avoid old age, they do all kinds of plastic surgery and whatever is available in the technology, in the medical technology. And disease, nobody wants disease. For example, this COVID pandemic now, for last so many months, the whole world is fighting against this. So nobody wants it. And birth also, because as long as this, as soon as the birth happens, and with birth, death is also fixed, old age is also fixed, and disease is also fixed. And even in birth, while the child is in the womb of the mother for 9 months, it tolerates so many difficult situations that it is mentioned in the scriptures that this the experience of birth itself is very traumatic for the child. Okay, so death is, the real problem. Nobody wants it. Disease, nobody wants it. Birth, you know, because we have forgotten the pain of birth. That's why now we make a question that why nobody want birth. People become happy when birth takes place in their families. But ask if had some arrangement been done, that if we could remember the pain which we have went through while being in the womb for 9 months, probably we may never want to go back the same experience, we want to experience the same process again. And old days, of course, nobody wants it. So Bhagavad Gita 13.9, 13th chapter, 9th shloka, Krishna says to Arjun that if rather he declares this as knowledge. So what is that knowledge? Uh, that knowledge means perception. Somebody who is conscious, who knows about this, that the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease. Right. So Krishna is saying that that person is knowledgeable, or the person who has knowledge, he knows the perception of evils of birth, death, old age, and disease, and he tries his best to you know come out of this cycle of birth and death. Okay, so along with this, there are other kaleshas, uh, or roadblocks to happiness, known as kaleshas or miseries, for everyone, at every time. What are these kaleshas? Okay, let's understand. So one kalesh or misery is adhyatmic kleshas, mental agonies, and another, this is mental agony, as we saw in the very beginning of the presentation, in the happiness stats, that by 2030, that stress, the mental agonies, this will become the biggest killer in the world. you know so this adhyatmic kaleshas. Then adi bhautik kalesha is that, the miseries caused by other living entities. For example, these days China is creating a lot of trouble for India, unnecessarily. This is known as adibhotik or terrorist, right? And similarly, there is third kalesha is adhidevic kalesha. Miseries due to natural disasters. Like we just had one, in Kolkata, uh, we face this, one storm. Okay, and other, tsunami and earthquake and so many things. So nobody can avoid it. These kinds of kalesha also. These miseries are for everyone at every time. So the question is there any permanent solution to these problems? The real problems: birth, old age, disease, and that, and these three kaleshas. Is there any problem? So is there any solution to these, permanent solution to the problems? So yes, for at least for some of the, for example, old age, science can suggest some solutions, but like plastic surgery and all, but these are all patch up solutions. We want the real solution, permanent solution. Okay, so can scientific advancement put in full stop to all the sufferings? Of course not. you know because real problems of life and these kaleshas, these cannot be solved by the science can give us, or technology can give us patch up solutions. Scientific advancement means newer and more ingenious way of covering up the reality, not solving the real problems. This is a beautiful example of Michael Jackson. He wanted to live for 150 years. And to live for 150 years, what he did that he appointed 12 doctors at home. And another 15 people were appointed to look after his daily exercise and workout. And organ donors were kept ready in case of emergency if ever needed. But on 25th June 2009, at the age of 50, his heart stopped functioning and nobody could save him. So basically, whatever scientific advancement we may have, but with respect to these real problems, we don't have any solution. So, what is the solution? Then we will have to take help from the scriptures. Let us understand, what is the uh, what scriptures offer us, what kind of solutions scriptures offer us. Okay, without acknowledging the real self, problems faced by self cannot be solved. Yes. Okay, so let us understand Bhagavad Gita Sutras for happiness. Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to remain happy even in the midst of challenging situations. Arjun, when the Mahabharat war was about to start, and before starting the war, Arjun, got perplexed and confused about his duty, and then he asked in that situation from Lord Krishna about his duty in these trying circumstances, challenging situations. So we also find ourselves in the similar situation so many times, in our life. So let us take lessons from this perennial, this you know the book of knowledge. Gita is like a roadmap to happiness. By following Gita practicing system, GPS, we can reach our destination. Yes, and Bhagavad Gita mentions the word sukham 39 times to emphasize the spirit soul's right to be happy. You know, so Bhagavad Gita talks about the real, secret, how to remain happy amidst the difficult situations in our life. Uh, so Bhagavad Gita's solution is basically the permanent solution in whatever situation we may be in, whatever how much difficult situation may be. But if somebody follows Bhagavad Gita 100%, it is a guarantee that uh, that whatever trying situation may be, that person cannot, he will not feel even a tinge of anxiety because of that difficult situation. So Bhagavad Gita uses the word 39 times, sukham, to emphasize the spirit soul's right to be happy. Arjun asked Lord Krishna in first chapter itself, how can we be happy if we are going to kill our own kinsmen? Katham sukhina shyam madhava, how we can be happy? The question started with even in the first chapter. Okay, so let us understand Bhagavad Gita Sutta. Bhagavad Gita talks about two types of happiness. One, the first is material happiness, right? And which comprises of which is temporary, which has a beginning and an end, and false happiness from senses, right? So these These are the three special characteristics of the happiness, which is material happiness. Material happiness which comes from enjoying our senses. You know, these are temporary. It has a beginning and an end, right? For example, if I want to taste some sweet, then some craving will come, and I will eat that, and after that sweet is finished, the taste is also gone. So that pleasure is also gone. So it has a beginning and an end, and false happiness from the senses. Now, as compared with this material happiness, let us understand about spiritual happiness. According to Bhagavad Gita, if somebody has got this spiritual part of happiness, this spiritual happiness, it is permanent. No situation, of the life can, deprive that person of the happiness if he is spiritual, right? This is permanent happiness. It is always increasing. This is also another quality of spiritual happiness, that it never deteriorates. It never, it always increases, and it comes from the soul. Material happiness, it comes from the senses, and spiritual happiness, it comes from the soul, right? Okay, so there's a famous shloka of sixth chapter, uh, text number 22 and 23. It mentions that in that joyous state of samadhi, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from the material contact, right? So this is spiritual happiness. And as compared to the spiritual happiness, there is material happiness also. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 22. An intelligent person does not take part. What is mentioned? Intelligent person. He does not take part in the sources of misery. What are the sources of misery? Which are due to contact with material senses. Right. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so wise man does not delight in them. Right. So Bhagavad Gita Sutras for happiness. There are three types of happiness in the mode of goodness, satogun, rajogun, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So chapter 18, Shlok Sankhya, uh, Shloka number 37 to 39. Okay, happiness in the mode of goodness. What are the qualities? Beginning just like a poison, and just like a nectar, and leads to self-realization. If somebody is in the mode of goodness, we'll discuss about a little bit about mode of goodness, what it is, and so these are the basic, qualities he will feel if somebody is in the mode of goodness, sattva guna, and somebody is in the mode of passion. So his happiness will be like this, uh, beginning just like a nectar, ends just like a poison, and derives from contact of senses with their objects. And if somebody is in the mode of ignorance, tamogun, his happiness, the kind of his happiness is blind to self-realization. It is opposite of satogun, right? Delusion from beginning to end, right? And arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion. It is something like that. Somebody takes drugs. Somebody is addicted to having drugs. So that kind of happiness is mode of ignorance, tamogun. And if somebody is, like people, they like corporate culture, you know, they start at 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, until 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. They are, continuously uh, uh, running for their work to meet the deadlines. They don't even have time for, to take proper sleep and proper food. So that kind of happiness, that is in the mode of passion. And what is mode of goodness? Mode of goodness, satogun, means like the people who are who live very close to the nature, and they are peaceful people, peaceful, very peaceful, and they don't have much desires in life. They are happy with their whatever, simple life they are living. So that kind of people, they are satoguni people. And and their happiness is which is basically it it is, although it is difficult to live simply in a simple life, but when somebody is in the mode of goodness, it becomes their they enjoy that simplicity, and which and this kind of lifestyle leads to self realization. you know like this here in the picture it is shown, this is mode of goodness, this is mode of passion, and this is mode of ignorance. Okay, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita ki, O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than others, is illuminating and frees one from all sinful reactions. Okay, and those situated in mode becomes conditioned by the sense of happiness and knowledge. So, but the person who is in the mode of goodness, he will have happiness and knowledge. Okay, so another sutra is from chapter 2nd, text number 14. What is sutra teaches us is to learn to tolerate the miseries. Miseries will come. We are in this material world. Miseries will come. Adi bhautik kleshas, adhyatmic kleshas, all these kleshas will definitely come, because these are the special characteristics of this material world in which we are living. So what we have to do is we have to learn to tolerate the miseries. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2nd, text 14, Krishna says, Matra sparshastu konteya, shito ushna sukha dukkha, agma apayino anityas tantitiksha swabharata. So the point here is, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance. What is this? Non-permanent. Okay, this non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. They will come and go. And their disappearance in due course are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception. How they arise? They arise from sense perception. O sign of Bharata, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So this is the key. And somebody who is in the mode of goodness, they can very easily tolerate. So cultivating the mode of goodness is the key to advancement in spiritual life. Okay, so there is another shloka. So before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he will be well situated and is happy in the world. So what is another formula, another sutra is tolerate the urges of material senses, and that's how we can be happy. Okay, and so another sutra from this Bhagavad Gita is, happiness comes from peace. Okay, so as long as the one is peaceful, then he is happy. If he is not peaceful, then there cannot be any happiness. So happiness comes from peace, and which in turns come from control of mind. Right? If you see this happiness is coming from peace, and peace is coming from steady mind. If mind is not peaceful, if mind is not controlled, that it can't be peaceful. If it is not peaceful, you can't be happy. And how this steadiness of mind comes from? It comes from by following the principles of spiritual life. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness, that means one who does not follow the spiritual life, can neither have transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, and without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So another sutra from Bhagavad Gita is eating habits. Okay, so eating habits affects the level of happiness. How? So Bhagavad Gita teaches us in this shloka that foods dear to those in the mode of goodness, you know we had already discussed. So food dear to those in the mode of goodness, sattva gun, increases the duration of life, purify one's existence, and gives strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasant to the heart. So, if we want to be happy and peaceful, and we want a healthy life, so we should not eat non-veg. We should be happy with the vegetarian foodstuffs, milk, curd, and various vegetables. Okay, so then the last, we are now just about to close the session. So Bhagavad Gita also teaches us to, mantra meditation, and mantra meditation can raise one's level of consciousness from mode of ignorance to mode of goodness and beyond. So Bhagavad Gita shloka number 8.5, chapter 8 and fifth shloka, right? So and the famous shloka which is mentioned in the Kalisantran Upanishad is this: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This was popularized by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 15th century when he appeared in Bengal, and this Maha Mantra is basically it is known as Maha Mantra because it is the king of all the mantras, and it can purify the level of consciousness very fast, from the mode of ignorance to mode of goodness and beyond. So one famous study was done by this Professor Brian Wolf uh, on the effect of chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on stress, depression, and three gunas, and he found that by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly, person who habitually think depressing thoughts such as I am worthless, train themselves to replace these thoughts with thoughts that are rewarding and supportive of self-esteem. Similarly, another study was performed on the effect of chanting Hare Krishna, that a clinical test of the benefit of mantra chanting was performed on three groups of 62 subjects, males and females of average age 25. They chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 25 minutes each day and under strict clinical supervision, and the results showed that the mantra reduces stress and depressions and help reduce bad habits and addictions. So this study was done at the Florida State University. Okay, so what happens when we do mantra meditation is basically our brain produces brain waves. So when we are in the sleepy zone or when we are in the drowsiness zone, then the brain waves frequency is something up to 8. And when we are in the active zone, very active lifestyle, so brain waves is something between above 13, and it goes beyond 18. So there is one particular zone which is known as alpha zone, where the mind is very relaxed, but along with it is very alert also. So that is this particular basically this alpha zone. This so mantra meditation leads to a relaxed state of mind with alertness. Okay, so this is a special effect of when we chant the mantra. So these who chants Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly. So there are all the millions of people around the world who have adopted this mantra meditation, and they become permanently happy. So the other so here is a personality, Alfred Rushford, uh, who is the great grandson of Henry Ford, and he's chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra since for the last 50 years, and he says that chanting Hare Krishna has made a tremendous impact in my life. And famous industrialist Mr. Andy Desai, he said, I have been chanting Hare Krishna for many years and I have never found anything more pleasurable. Similarly, the famous industrialist Rishikesh Mafatlal, he said that chanting Hare Krishna has helped me face all the ups and downs in my life with a great confidence and peace of mind. Similarly, this Dutch model, which became she became a devotee. So she said that chanting helped me give up bad habits. It changed my vision of things. Similarly, another European model, she says that by starting to chant Hare Krishna, I feel tremendous happiness. And also George Harrison, who was the lead singer in this Beatles in UK in 1960s, he became very much attracted to chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and because of his effort, this at that time Hare Krishna Maha Mantra became a household name. He released many albums by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra at that time. Okay, so now to summarize the session, uh, human life is meant for following dharma, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, and inquire about absolute truth. Purpose of human life is to find out permanent solution to the real problems of life. Modern technology cannot give us any permanent solutions to my real problems. Permanent solution lies in applying Bhagavad Gita teachings in one life, and boundless divine happiness is one's birthright. So with this summary, I end my presentation. So thanks a lot for patiently hearing.